Today, I am going to tell you what they don't tell you about language learning. So watch and listen. What they don't tell you, or what I wasn't told, is that when you start a brand new language, you know nothing, or I didn't anyway. It's actually okay. It's good that you don't know anything. That's the start of the journey. And hopefully, if you are listening to this, that this video helps you to relax and helps you to keep your motivation for learning this new language. Now, my experience of not knowing anything about a language came with my second time starting a new language. First, I actually started a little bit different, and that was when I started to learn Spanish. So I started in school. I studied Spanish for half a year, and I didn't learn very much. But I became familiarized with some words, and then it wasn't until much later I seriously started to try to learn the language. And I did this as most people would. I booked a space in a class where I was thrown into the deep end. I was made to learn words and was taught a little bit about grammar for an hour once a week. This wasn't the most enjoyable experience. It wasn't the type of environment that I would feel comfortable in. And for me, that discomfort didn't give me confidence in learning Spanish and learning this new language. So I downloaded apps and I started playing games based around the language, hoping that with these games it would teach me different words, different grammar. This didn't really work either. And it wasn't until I found a YouTube channel with someone speaking using drawings and pictures to provide context to what was being said that I found my way of learning a language. So this took me some time to come to this conclusion that this way of learning was how I wanted to learn Spanish. By then, despite not enjoying going to a class or learning in school or using different apps, I did obviously pick up some words. So beginning to watch these videos, I didn't start from square one, which is start from nothing. It meant that I could start quite quickly. It gave me a lot of motivation to continue watching videos and listening to the language, do it every single day. And in time, I began to understand the videos more and more. And I watched videos which were meant for more advanced learners about more interesting topics. And it was a really enjoyable experience, and I'm still working on Spanish. I'm still improving. However, the point of this video is to tell you about the experience of knowing nothing, and that happened when I started my second new language, Japanese. So with Japanese, I hadn't studied the language before. I hadn't really watched a lot of movies or television with the language, and when I did, I used subtitles and I didn't really listen to the language properly. I didn't do anything which I did with Spanish. So when I finally found an appropriate channel on YouTube with someone teaching the language like myself and like the Spanish teacher did before, I thought, okay, this is my opportunity to start Japanese, a language I really wanted to learn for quite a long time. And I started to watch these videos. I didn't know anything they were saying. I couldn't tell what was a word, what was a sentence, what they were talking about. To me, it was just noise. It took me quite a long time to start to recognize different sounds, realize that they were maybe words, and then connect them to the context of the story that the person was telling with the drawings and the pictures. And that was a brand new experience and something that I didn't really expect because of my different experience with Spanish. And it was only my belief in this method of learning that gave me the motivation to just keep on listening and watching these videos and believe that I will begin to understand what was being said in Japanese. But it did make me think a lot about beginning the journey of learning a new language. It made me think back to when I started Spanish, not just when I started to watch the videos more recently, but also back to when I began to learn the language in school and try to remember what it was like to listen to Spanish and not understand a single word that was being said. And I find it very difficult to remember what that was like. And the problem with that is when you have been learning a language for 2 or 3 years and you have gotten to quite a high level at this language and you decided it's time to start a new one, and you start and you don't know anything. This can be quite difficult for you. It was for me. I remember starting Japanese 1 year ago and thinking, oof, this is tough. I don't remember Spanish being this difficult, but it was. Spanish was difficult for me as well. It's just that with time it becomes easier, so it can feel like you put less effort into trying to understand what is being said. So starting Japanese, I could actually get quite tired watching these videos because I was concentrating so hard trying to understand the meaning behind the noises and the sounds that I was hearing in the videos. However, I was very motivated starting Japanese because I believe in the method. So I pushed through this initial stage of the language learning process where you know nothing, to the point that where you can begin to distinguish words, their meaning. You start to listen to stories and you know what's being said. That's when you start to get quite excited. This motivates you to continue learning the language. And I believe that if you can push through that initial stage of knowing nothing to the point that you can understand words and you can listen to a story being told and understand the person speaking in this different language, then you probably have a good chance of finding the motivation to keep on going and improving that language. I believe that it is in this initial stage where you know nothing that people are most likely to give up, because it is very difficult. You just have to stick in and keep on going. And that's my advice to you. Just keep on going. It's okay not to know anything. I had that experience with Japanese, and I will probably have the same experience with another language in the future. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with not knowing anything. And that's what you have to tell yourself when you start a new language. So that's everything for now. It is an interesting experience to go through that initial phase in the language learning process and to improve, to get past it and improve, and then to actually look back to the beginning and try to remember what it was like when you didn't understand anything that was being said. And it is actually quite difficult. I am struggling now to remember what it was like not to understand any Japanese, and with Spanish it is even more difficult because I'm a lot better at Spanish and it was a longer time ago. I do feel it is important to remember the initial stage of learning a language and to be humble about it. It is okay not to know anything. So that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed, and if you had a similar experience, then comment below. I would like to hear about it. So thank you for watching and listening. Bye.